212-8209.
Candy Matson?
Well, I wasn't sure when I looked in the mirror this morning.
Had a rough night, eh?
Oh, there have been rougher ones. Look, voice, before you get caught with my receiver down, who are you and what do you want?
As to who I am, you'll find out very shortly. What I want is you.
How romantic. And over the phone yet.
Let me finish. What I want is you to lay off that cable car business.
Oh, that. Well, I'm afraid I can't. You see, I was sitting beside the man when they discovered his transfer had been punched. Sort of permanently. That's how things happen with me. I get into the craziest routines. You see, I used to be a model. I'd been told I had the proper displacement for such a career, but I found there wasn't enough money in it, and a girl has to eat, doesn't she? And she has to maintain a nice apartment on Telegraph Hill and buy enough clothes to highlight the displacement I mentioned, right? Sure. So I turned private eye. You meet a better class of people, mostly named Rigor or Mortis. Take this cable car deal, for instance. Like to hear how the whole thing happened. Well, let's get started then. I wanted to get downtown that morning, but I couldn't take the F car on Stockton. They were ripping up about 87 blocks, which is far for the course. So I walked down Telegraph Hill and up to Mason. That's where the Bay and Powell cable car stops.
All aboard! Come on. We gotta make the Fairmount by quitting time.
The car was loaded, and so was the character next to me. I tried to budge into the seat between him and the fisherman's wharf dowager, but I couldn't quite make it. I'd forgotten my shoehorn. Say, pardon me, but would you mind reading your Wall Street Journal over that away a bit? I'd like to sit in there.
Oh, if you insist.
Night of old. He budged his hips about a quarter of an inch, and I slipped in, ready for my rocket ride down the hill and down into town. The trip, as usual, was uneventful. 3 smashed fenders and several choice words I'd never heard before, but I wrote them down. By the time our prairie schooner reached the turntable at Market Street, the crowd on the car had thinned out. But Buster was still beside me, his head buried in Common and Preferred.
Market Street!
I started to get down.
Hey, lady, take your boyfriend with you. We're heading back up the hill.
Boyfriend? I don't think so.
Well, how do you like that? He fell asleep in his stocks and bonds.
I looked again. Tipsy wasn't asleep. Tipsy was stone cold dead on Market Street. What a twist. I, who always went on the prowl for a whodunit, get one tossed into my lap literally. You see, he just hadn't gone out of this world serene like, oh no, there was a steady slurp of blood trickling down his vest just north by northeast of the equator. After half an hour wait full of questioning by homicide legman, I knew my morning shopping tour was rained out. And after all, I was only going to buy an emerald clip to match the glint in my eye. Well, that would have to wait. I knew the next step. I grabbed the cab home. I wasn't long in waiting. Right on cue, and if it was the right cue, it would be Lieutenant Ray Mallard from headquarters daintily pressing his cuticles against my apartment buzzer. I was right.
Right about what?
I've been expecting you, Mallard. Come on in. Sit down, take off your hat.
It is off.
Have a drink?
No, I'm not in the mood. Just make it a double. Candy, for once I'm puzzled.
You're just saying that.
Yeah, because it's true. I've checked and rechecked, and no matter how many loose ends I tie together, I still get no connection between you and Dwight Ellsworth.
Dwight Who'sworth?
Ellsworth, your extremely limp traveling companion on the cable car this morning.
Mallard, I can give you an angle on that.
Yeah?
Yeah, the angle being I didn't know him from Euclid.
Level?
Straight. Look, honeypot, this mediocre dialogue is getting us nowhere. What did you howl your size 11s in here for?
Frankly, I don't know. Oh, here, fill it up, will ya?
Well, you're not just going around in circles, Mallard. You're going around in doubles.
Yeah. Like I said before, Candy, you got a pretty view from here.
Oh? Wait, I'll turn around.
I mean from your window. Look at that ship down there, just docking.
Where?
Just down there, probably arriving from the Far East. That's romance for you.
Here's your drink.
Oh, thanks.
You know, it is sort of romantic. Don't you think it would be fun to jump on a tramp like that and whisk off to the South Seas? On a honeymoon?
No.
That's what I thought. South Seas. Mallard?
Don't call me Mallard.
Why not? We're just playing for ducks, aren't we?
Ah, very crisp. Playing for ducks. No, Candy, we aren't. Not in this case. We got a dead man in our hands. Rudy Toot Toot shot right through the heart, and you were sitting next to him.
Sure. Go on now, get out of here.
What?
You heard me. Lift your hindquarters and get back to headquarters.
Candy, I don't like that look. You got something on your mind.
Yeah, but you wouldn't recognize it if I told you about it.
One word of warning. Don't dabble. You're in deep enough. Got it?
Got it. Here's your hat. Grab it. So long, Mallard. See you around the jailhouse sometime. Fum, 'twas that I smelled a big fat fee. That great big kinda attractive Mallard missed the boat. Oh, he saw it, but he missed it. It was that ship he saw docking. That was the first time I came out of the dark since my giant dipper of a ride down the hill that morning. I needed help, so I called an old friend of mine, if you can call that help. Rembrandt Watson was his name. He was a photographer and other things. He spent most of his life in the darkroom dabbling with bottles. His negatives and prints were sharp. His thought processes not quite. But he'd given me assistance in the past, so I called him.
Rembrandt Watson speaking, photography, portraits, and camera work.
Yes, Rembrandt, I know.
Also available for gardening, general service, and babysitting.
Rembrandt, it's Candy.
Who? Candy?
Now you're tuned in.
How dare you bother me? I was experimenting with a new type of formula.
90 proof or 100?
100. And Candy, it works beautifully. There's a delightful little pixie and pink velvet strip in the living room.
Well, leave her there and get over here immediately to my place. Take a cab, I'll pay for it.
I would much rather have a handsome carrot with bracelets and chestnuts.
You got them in your head. Now just do as I say and get over here. Float in, Rembrandt.
Gladly. Where's the man to take me cloak, gloves, and topper?
You are wearing a sport coat and slacks, and you know I have no man.
And there's lie your basic trouble, my dear. You have no man.
Now, Rembrandt.
Every man should have a woman. Every woman should have a man. It's the incontrovertible law of the universe, Candy. You should have a man.
You?
Sure. I'm no longer a man. I'm a spirit transcending the world.
Well, stop transcending a moment and come down to earth. We've got a job to do.
How poetic. How idyllic. We've got a job to do. For money?
Eventually.
Oh, one of those. Very well, my dear. Bring me up to date.
Well, I don't really know if I can or not.
Good. Then I shall leave and return to me formula.
No. What I mean is the whole story so fantastic you'd never believe it.
I might. Try me, Candy.
Well, I got on a cable car and sat next to a character reading the Wall Street Journal.
A strange coupling, a cable car and the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, and we get to the end of the line, my friend next to me is dead.
Probably the ride down the hill. Frightened him to death.
Nuh-uh. He looked like a used punch board, a neat little bullet hole through his heart.
Candy, my little ballerina friend in the pink skirt is more believable than what you just told me.
I told you it was fantastic, but not the how it happened. Now, sooner or later, Mallard is going to come out of his fog, and when he does, I'm going to be out of fee.
Hey, that so far doesn't exist, my pretty.
It will if my hunch is right. Now, here is what I want you to do. Go down to the Chronicle and get all the back files you can on Southern Island Steamship Company.
The Chronicle? A pleasure. I go, but entirely against my will. And where will you be?
Down on the docks, Rembrandt. I've got to do some legwork. What a joint. I'll bet they mount slit fish gullets on the walls instead of deer hands. Well, come on, Candy. Get your tools out and screw up your courage.
Yeah, miss. What'll it be?
Nothing right at the moment except information.
Information and water are both free. What do you want to know?
I am looking for the purser of the Dwightsonians. I hear he does a shore duty in here.
That's right. Named Campbell. That head on the table over there belongs to him.
Thanks. Hello, sailor. Hey, Campbell, wake up.
Huh? Leave me alone.
Come on, snap out of it.
Who are you?
My name is Candy Matson. I want to ask you a question.
I'm only drinking. Go away.
Not until I find out what to know. Dwight Ellsworth was murdered this morning.
What?
I thought I would bring you to.
That's the nicest news I've heard since VJ Day. What do you want to know?
Where does his brother live?
That stooge? He's got about as much spine as a water eel.
Never mind. I want to find him. He seems to keep his whereabouts as secret as an atomic stockpile.
He lives out in Sea Cliff, 25 Dashel Road. Ask me, the whole family ought to be knocked off.
Bartender, buy my friend a little reward and one for yourself, too. Well, so far so good. Oh, how did I know about Campbell the purser? Well, I have quite a few friends in town, most of a type my Mallard doesn't approve. So after leaving that little watering hole, I grabbed the cab and navigated the drive route towards Sea Cliff. It was so foggy I couldn't see the meter, but I paid him anyway and dismissed him. There it was, 25 Dashel Road, an austere-looking cabana, one that dared you to ring the front doorbell. I dared. I had the awful feeling I should have been around at the side of the door delivering hand laundry.
Good evening.
Except for the fog, yes. Is Mr. Ellsworth in?
Yes, my husband is here, but I'm afraid this is not a good time. There has been a death in the family.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Come in.
Thank you.
Walk this way, please.
Oh, I'm afraid I couldn't, even if I lived to be 100.
Mind your tongue, young lady. You're in the house of an Ellsworth.
Oh, hoity-toity, the old babes had delusions of grandeur. Well, no need to get uppity with me. I've mingled with royalty. Why, once I had 3 kings in the palm of my hand at the Silver Dollar in Reno. But this old gal was really something. She couldn't have been more than 45, yet looked like something out of the Baroness of Wimpole Street. She ushered me into a high-ceilinged living room, and there on the divan was my boy, his head lowered into his hands and quite obviously touched. Quite obviously.
Roger, this young lady is here to see you. I don't believe you mentioned your name.
Candy Matson.
Matson? You in shipping too?
Sort.
You'll pardon me if I don't seem hospitable, Miss Matson, but my brother was murdered.
I know. I was sitting next to him when it happened.
You were?
Yes. Mr. Ellsworth, I don't want to take up much of your time, so I'll come right to the point. You see, I'm a private detective.
Oh, one of those persons.
Put your nose back down, Mrs. Ellsworth. Let me make my proposition. Yes, I'm a private detective, and I'm in a spot, too. The police think I'm connected to the case in some way, so I'm here for a double purpose.
I'm listening, Miss Matson.
Roger, I don't think you should be speaking with this woman.
Too late, Mrs. Ellsworth. Now, I can find out who killed your brother, but it'll take some money. Give me a check now for $300, and I'll find the murderer. And I'll also clear myself.
Well, I don't know.
Naturally, you want to see the killer of your brother brought to justice, don't you, Mr. Ellsworth?
Roger!
Don't you?
Yes, of course. Here, I'll make a check out right now.
Thanks. Just make it out to Candy Matson, payable today. A lovely collection of guns you have, Mr. Ellsworth. You hunt much?
Oh, yes. The whole family is quite fond of shooting. Ah, there you are.
Thank you. I'll be in touch with you sometime tomorrow. The missus didn't say another word. She just stood there against the fireplace and shot sparks through me. After I waved the check in the air a few times to dry the ink, she showed me to the door.
Very clever, aren't you? Taking advantage of a weak little man.
I wonder who made him that way.
Don't cash that check. I mean it. Don't cash that check.
Mrs. Ellsworth, $300. I need the money badly. I need some new rolls for my player piano. I buzzed back downtown. I wanted to cash that check in a hurry. I knew of only one person who would give me that crisp green at that hour of the night. Uncle Charlie, the honest miller who ran the chase room. Uncle Charlie, in the strict sense of the word, was a gentleman. So with a tender little pat on my cheek, he cashed the check, and I went up Telegraph Hill and home. All of a sudden, my eyes did a couple of inverted loops. All the lights were on. Who's in there? All right, speak up.
Ah, Candy, the light of my life, come join our party.
Oh, Rembrandt, you gave me a scare.
You don't scare easy either, Candy. Got something on your mind?
And Mallard. How, Ducky, a midnight soiree. What goes on here?
Well, the chicken you had in the icebox is quite delicious.
Was delicious. Looks like you've done everything but eat the bones.
And your vintage is superb, too, Candy. Have a little formula.
No. Now come on, what gives?
That's my line, Candy. What gives? You're in on something and I want to know about it.
Oh, Mallard, believe me, it's nothing. I'm just trying to parlay a couple of hunches.
Tall hunches. Look at all of those clippings on the South Sea Island Steamship Company. What are they for?
I meant to tell you, Candy, I had remarkable success down at the Chronicles. There's everything you want on the steamship line.
Oh, Rembrandt, did you have to tell the whole world?
Candy, you tried me unnecessarily. I merely had the clippings on the table when Hawkshaw here walked in on me.
Okay, Candy. Take it from there.
Nothing makes sense yet, Mallard, so there's nothing to tell, really.
Really? How about where you were tonight?
Here and there.
I knew I should have put a man on you. Save me some grief.
2 days, that's all, Mallard. Just give me 2 days to tie off about 4 loose ends, and I think I'll have it worked out.
All right, but don't forget, the boys down at Kearney Street headquarters don't love you the way I do. 2 days. No more or less. I gotta go. Thanks for the foul chicken.
Here, Rembrandt, here's $50 for you.
My word! What's all this talk about a recession?
Go on, take it. Go someplace and stabilize the economy. I went through the old newspaper clippings. It was all there. Fire at sea on Ellsworth's ship. 2 seamen lost off Ellsworth's ship near Honolulu. South Sea Island line ship loses rudder and storm. On and on it went over a period of 3 years. I threw the papers back on the table, helped myself to Rembrandt's formula, turned down the lights, and went out on the porch. The bay was dark except for an occasional path of light from a passing freighter. I sat down to think. And think. Then, click, click, just like that, 2 little tumblers in my mind fell into place. There was only one thing to do, and that was to do it the hard way. All right, Rembrandt, get on.
This is the silliest thing you've ever done, Candy.
Maybe, we'll see. Dwight Ellsworth was already on the car when I got here, and alive.
How could you tell?
He mumbled something when I asked him to move over.
Sounds logical, although I once remember stumbling into a corpse who mumbled for hours.
Rembrandt was in one of his rumbling moods, so I left him alone. The car pulled over Mason Street down Washington and then swung over Powell and the Hill. Now I watched the buildings and apartments carefully. There was a little red brick building. Now a nice big apartment house. A woman's residence club and so on. Then over the hill and more apartments, and the possibilities petered out at Bush. Well, only one thing to do. Canvass all those blocks between Washington and Bush. Okay, Rembrandt, off the car.
Yes, the strangest corpse I ever did see. What did you say, Candy?
Off the car, come on.
Now what? I just want to get to bed.
Well, not for a long time, Boy Blue. Now here's the pitch. You take this building and I'll take the next. We'll alternate as we go along. Ask if a tall woman with a horsey face dressed something like Queen Victoria ever lived around here.
Oh, Candy.
I know it sounds wild, but it's got to be done.
A horse with a tall face and dress something like...
Rembrandt, look at me. Get that smoke out of your brain. A tall woman with a horsey face and dressed something like Queen Victoria. You got it?
Got it.
Okay, get going. It was slow and tiresome, and the answers I got.
Tall girl dressed like Queen Victoria. Oh, sister.
That was about par.
No, nobody like that ever lived here.
Are you positive?
A dame who fits that description? Yeah, I'm positive.
The morning wore on, and so did we. We were over on the other side of California Street now, so we stopped and had a bite to eat. I had pickles with mine, and Rembrandt had olives on toothpicks in a glass. And again we picked up the hunt. My heart was suddenly making with a rumba. There, just on the other side, clay in front of three-story red brick house, was a police squad car. There was a little knot of people gathered around. Walked down the block and up the front steps. I didn't have any trouble finding the room. The door was wide open and there was a body on the floor. 4 representatives on the law were buzzing back and forth. One of the buzzies was Mallard.
Well, my little ambassador of violence. Why is you're always around the extremely dead, Candy?
I've got not time to brandy the ad-libs, Mallard. Who is it?
Don't know yet. No identification.
Let me see.
Ah, pen pal maybe?
I was right. I knew it.
Knew it? Knew what?
You're right. He was a pen pal. He wrote me a check last night for $300. His name is Roger Ellsworth.
Very interesting. Must be open season on Ellsworth's. Okay, Candy, time you filled in the blanks. Start.
Wait a minute. I want to look at the window here. Mallard, there are a couple of younger Ellsworths living around town. I'm sure you'd like to see them stay healthy.
Yeah?
Get out to 25 Dashiell Road and pick up an old crone also named Ellsworth. 5 will get you 20. She's the one you're after.
Alright, but you get back to your place and stay put. I want to have a more illuminating chat with you.
Oh, Mallard, I'm just like putty in your hands. The moon was coming up over Diablo and spraying a path of silver on the bay. Still no Mallard. I wondered what could be wrong. This was it. This was the showdown.
You seen a tall Victorian face with a horsey dressed woman?
Oh, Rembrandt.
Candy, I'm so mad at you. What's the use?
Now what's the matter?
What's the matter, she says. I've been roving all over Powell Street ringing doorbells. Where did you go, you traitor?
Rembrandt, I'm sorry. In the excitement, I forgot all about you.
What excitement?
There has been another murder.
In a moment, there's going to be another. I'm looking right at you, Candy.
Oh, cool off. Have some formula and stop snorting steam. What was that?
Your window, Candy. It's just shattered.
What? Oh, wait a minute. That window didn't shatter by itself. Quick, get the lights, Rembrandt. Now duck down here.
What sort of silly game are we playing now?
This isn't a game, believe me.
Candy, are you alright?
Yikes, it's the gumshoe.
Yes, I'm all right. Where are you, Mallard?
Over here. 2 houses over. We've got your girlfriend trapped on the roof next to you. Don't move and stay covered.
Okay.
Alright, Mrs. Ellsworth. Are you coming down peacefully, or do we have to play cops and robbers?
I'm not coming down until I get that Candy Matson.
Have it your own way. Okay, loosen her up a bit, boys.
Better than the 4th of July.
Keep your head down, Rembrandt.
Ready to come down, Mrs. Ellsworth?
No, I'm not. That hateful woman, she ruined all my plans with her snipping and praying. She's gonna die, I tell you.
It was a miracle, Candy. You must have moved slightly just as she shot at you.
It was too close, let me tell you. She's dead?
Oh, decidedly. I think she was dead before she hit the ground.
What happened?
Well, we went out to her house, and she was just driving off. We trailed her to North Beach, lost her for a block, and then spotted her car at the top of the hill here. We arrived just as she was getting on the roof next door. Okay, now you tell me your little dream.
It was that ship docking that set my wheels going around. The name Ellsworth started burning in back somewhere. You saw the clippings Rembrandt dug up?
Yeah?
The South Sea Island steamship line was slowly being sabotaged. I did some checking and found that the insurance companies weren't going to renew.
I don't know why I didn't tie that in sooner.
It's just that you had too many things on your mind, Mallard dear.
Ha!
I went out to the place on Dashiell Road, and when I left, I was pretty sure the old girl had knocked off her brother-in-law.
Why?
Well, for several reasons. One, she was a venomous old witch. Two, you've never seen such a collection of guns in all of your life. And according to Roger Ellsworth, they both enjoyed using them. I noticed one little pop gun that was very interesting. Had a silencer on it.
Uh-huh. That was the one she used on you tonight.
And also the one she used on Dwight Ellsworth from the window of that apartment where you found her husband.
How do you know?
Go back there. You'll see a nice little bullet hole in the curtain with burned powder all around it.
Now, don't tell me.
Yes, I'm telling you that they rented that place knowing Dwight Ellsworth always went downtown on a certain cable car. She waited that morning until we were riding by and she popped him.
I have now heard everything.
Not everything. The reason? Dwight Ellsworth, rather than fighting the insurance company, had decided to sell the steamship line. The old gal thought she'd beat him to the punch by knocking him off. The company would then fall into her husband's hands.
But what about her husband?
At first, I thought he was just another weak-kneed man with an overbearing wife distraught over his brother's death. But now I'm not so sure.
No?
No, not when I think about that phone call.
What phone call?
Oh, another little detail that just slipped my mind until now.
Oh, I'll bet.
I got a phone call that day after I met with the Ellsworths in Sea Cliff telling me to lay off the case. Looking back on it, that call could have only been placed by Roger Ellsworth. So despite all the boo-hoo-hoo tears, looks like he was on it from the beginning. Then with me poking around, they probably got nervous, and at some point the missus no longer trusted hubby and decided she'd be better off without him.
No honor among killers.
Somehow she lured him down to that place on Powell and gave him some lead poisoning too, planning to inherit the whole caboodle herself. And to be sure she was safe, I was next in her sights.
But I don't get why Ellsworth paid you to look into something he'd want to keep hush-hush.
Well, it would look suspicious if he refused help finding his brother's killer, and I don't think he planned on me living long enough to figure the scheme out or cash the check. Then he cashed out first, thanks to his wife, who saved me some trouble.
Trouble?
If she hadn't killed him, I was going to.
What?
While I was waiting for you to get here, the phone rang. It was Uncle Charlie at the chase room. Roger Ellsworth's check bounced like a brand new golf ball. What's so funny, Mallard?
Listening again to the adventures of Candy Matson, girl sucker.